The smell of burning charcoal and overpriced steaks filled the air as I stood in my uncle's backyard, clutching a glass of wine I hadn't sipped in 20 minutes. Another Warren family barbecue, another afternoon of subtle jabs wrapped in syrupy smiles. I'm Valeria, and until today, I'd mastered the art of blending into these gatherings like tasteful patio furniture. Smile, nod, deflect questions about my dating life. But something in me snapped when I overheard Uncle Larry bragging about his latest investment. 40% return in 6 months, he announced to the small crowd gathered around the grill. That's how you build generational wealth. Before I could stop myself, I heard my voice cutting through the chatter. What was the dividend yield? The conversation screeched to a halt. Uncle Larry turned slowly, spatula frozen mid flip. What did you say, sweetheart? The dividend yield, I repeated, my voice steadier than I felt. If you're looking at long term growth, wouldn't that be important to consider? A smirk spread across his face, the same one he wore when explaining why women shouldn't handle their own finances. Oh, honey, you wouldn't understand stocks. Why don't you go help your cousin Reagan with the salad? Laughter rippled through the group. My mother, Violet, suddenly became very interested in her phone. Reagan, perfect Reagan with her perfect life, gave me a pitying smile from across the yard. I was just curious, I mumbled, but Reagan was already walking over. Val, remember that yoga studio I told you about? She linked her arm through mine, steering me away from the investment talk. They're having a special on class packages. Much more your speed than boring old stocks, right? Right, I echoed, letting her lead me toward the house. Behind us, Uncle Larry had already launched into another story about his business acumen. Don't take it personally, Reagan whispered. Daddy just gets protective about business stuff. Besides, your Pinterest boards are always so cute. You should focus on what you're good at. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. My reflection stared back, mascara slightly smudged, cheeks still flushed with humiliation. 31 years old, and they still treated me like I was playing dress up in grown up clothes. My phone buzzed, a notification from my banking app, another automatic transfer to my savings account, a measly $200. I opened my browser and typed, How to Start Investing. 3 hours and several YouTube videos later, I was still in my apartment, surrounded by empty coffee cups and scribbled notes. The trading platform's interface glowed on my laptop screen, terms like market cap and PE ratio swimming before my eyes. A message popped up on the investment forum I'd just joined. Interesting questions you're asking. Most newcomers don't think about risk assessment first. M. I hesitated, then replied, Most newcomers probably weren't publicly humiliated for asking about dividend yields today. Ah, revenge trading. Classic motivation. Terrible strategy. I'm not, I started typing, then deleted it. Maybe I am. Got any better suggestions? Yeah. Learn everything. Not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. M. I sat back, letting those words sink in. My phone lit up with texts from Reagan. Where did you go? Mom's asking about you. Did we hurt your feelings? I ignored them all and created a new spreadsheet. At the top, I typed proof. Below it, I entered my starting balance, 3,127.89 is my entire savings. The clock read 2:43 a.m. when I finally closed my laptop. My eyes were burning, my brain was buzzing with terms I barely understood, but something had shifted. The humiliation from the barbecue had crystallized into something harder, sharper. Uncle Larry's voice echoed in my head. Oh, honey, you wouldn't understand stocks. I set my alarm for 5 a.m., determined to catch the market opening. Tomorrow I'd start understanding everything. My phone buzzed one last time. Another message from M. Ready to learn? I typed back. Teach me. Then I added, and call me Val. The blue light from my screen illuminated my face in the darkness, and for the first time that day, I smiled. Not the polite smile I wore at family gatherings, but something else, something that felt dangerous and thrilling and absolutely necessary. I opened my notes app and made one final entry. Day 0. The last day anyone calls me honey. You look like death warmed over, Juliana said, sliding a coffee across my desk. Another late night? I blinked at my computer screen, where numbers danced across multiple charts. The Asian markets don't sleep, so neither do I. It had been 11 months since the barbecue incident. By day, I maintained my facade as a mid level marketing coordinator. By night, I transformed into a student of the markets, devouring everything M taught me. Your 2 p.m. canceled, Juliana whispered, checking no one was nearby. Want me to lock the conference room so you can power nap? I shook my head, pulling up my secret spreadsheet. Look at this instead. Her eyes widened as she saw the numbers. Val, is that $12,000? Started with three. I couldn't help grinning. And that's just the beginning. My phone buzzed. Check the Singapore exchange. That tech stock we discussed is moving. I'd never met Marcel in person, but he'd become my lifeline to the financial world. Every night, we'd dissect market trends, debate strategies, and build what he called my financial armor. You're really serious about this, aren't you? Juliana perched on my desk. I thought this was just about showing up your uncle. It was. Now it's. I gestured at my screens. Now it's everything. The office door opened, and I quickly switched back to my marketing reports. Our CEO walked past, nodding absently. Once he was gone, Juliana leaned in close. Speaking of everything, there's a position opening up at Shepherd and Associates, private asset management. They're looking for someone with unconventional experience. My heart skipped. Shepherd and Associates was boutique but brilliant, known for taking chances on unusual candidates. How do you know this? She winked. I have my sources. Want me to put your resume in? That night I messaged M. Ever heard of Shepherd and Associates? His response came quickly. Intimately. Why? There's an opening. Think it's too soon? Send me your portfolio analysis from last week. I attached the document I'd spent 3 sleepless nights preparing. Minutes ticked by. Finally, come to 555 Madison Ave tomorrow, 8 a.m. Ask for Marcel. I nearly dropped my phone. You're the Marcel Shepherd? Surprise! Now get some sleep. You look terrible in your webcam reflection. I didn't sleep. Instead, I prepared for the meeting obsessively, running numbers until dawn. When I walked into the sleek office building, my hands were shaking from caffeine and nerves. Val, a familiar voice called out. I turned to see a tall man approaching, grinning. Or should I say, honey? Marcel, I breathed. You could have told me. And miss this moment? Never. He gestured toward his office. Show me what you've got. For 2 hours, we dove deep into market analysis. My secret studies spilled out charts, predictions, strategies. Marcel interrupted only once. You have the instincts of someone who's been poor and paid attention, he said quietly. That's rare in this industry. Is that a compliment? It's why I'm about to offer you a job. He slid a contract across the desk. Junior partner track, starting immediately. I stared at the salary figure. It was triple what I currently made. One condition, Marcel added. Stop trading for revenge. Start trading for revolution. My phone buzzed. A text from Reagan. Family dinner next weekend. Daddy's announcing something big. I looked at Marcel. What if I want both? He laughed. Then you're exactly who I'm looking for. He pointed at my portfolio spreadsheet. But first, explain why you're still holding those energy stocks. I worked my notice period in a daze. Juliana helped me practice power walks in heels after hours, critiquing my boss lady strut until it was perfect. The night before starting at Shepherd and Associates, I updated my proof spreadsheet one last time. Personal portfolio, 18,467. Knowledge gained, priceless. My phone lit up with a final message from M's account. Ready to change your life? I typed back, ready to change everything. Then I opened my closet, pushed past the yoga pants Reagan always complimented, and pulled out the suit I'd bought for tomorrow. Sharp, black, expensive, everything they'd never expect from corporate Barbie. I laid it out carefully, then checked my calendar. 2 weeks until the next family dinner. 2 weeks to prepare for Uncle Larry's face when he realized his honey had grown up. My alarm was set for 5 a.m. Asian markets never sleep, and neither would I. Not until I'd built something so big they'd never dare underestimate me again. I touched the suit's lapel and smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow, the real investment would begin. The familiar scent of charcoal greeted me as I pulled into Uncle Larry's driveway, but this time I wasn't clutching wine. I was carrying a designer handbag that cost more than my first car. Amazing what 2 months as a junior partner could do for your wardrobe. Val, Reagan rushed over, perfect hair bouncing. You look different. Did you get highlights? Just been busy with work, I said, following her to the backyard. The usual crowd was gathered around the grill where Uncle Larry held court. There she is, he boomed. Little Val, finally joining us. Reagan told me you got a new job. Something in marketing? I smiled, remembering Marcel's advice. Let them underestimate you. It's your greatest weapon. Something like that, I replied, accepting a plate of food. Larry launched into his big announcement. We've just secured a major contract in Southeast Asia. Warren Works is going international, baby. The crowd murmured appreciatively. I picked at my salad, mentally calculating the logistics costs of international shipping in the current market. Impressive, I said carefully. How are you hedging against currency fluctuations? Larry's spatula paused mid flip. What? The exchange rates. They're volatile right now, especially in emerging markets. I assume you've got Forex protection? A flash of uncertainty crossed his face before he laughed it off. Always with the fancy words, honey. Leave the business talk to those who understand it. Reagan's fiance, Mark, spoke up. Actually, I was wondering about that too. My company lost big last year on. Mark! Larry cut him off. Let's not bore the ladies with numbers. Reagan, sweetheart, tell everyone about your new interior design project. I caught Mark's eye and gave him a subtle nod. He looked surprised, then grateful. My phone vibrated. Marcel. Meeting tomorrow, 7 a.m. Bring coffee and your analysis of the manufacturing sector. Speaking of work, Reagan sidled up to me. What's this I hear about you working downtown? Daddy says it's just glorified secretary work, but your outfit screams corporate Barbie. I took a slow sip of water. You could say I'm in asset management. Like a personal shopper? That's perfect for you. Before I could respond, Larry's voice boomed across the yard. Who wants to hear about the new factory expansion? I listened as he detailed plans that made my financial spider sense tingle. The numbers didn't add up. Something was off about the way he discussed his business partner, Ray. My phone buzzed again. Juliana. Jean just dropped a bomb. You need to see these docs ASAP. Sorry. I stood up. Work emergency. On a Sunday? Reagan laughed. What kind of shopping emergency? The kind that involves 8 figures, I said quietly, gathering my things. Excuse me. Larry overheard. 8 figures? Someone's been watching too many business movies. I paused, then turned back. You know what's interesting about the manufacturing sector right now, Uncle Larry? How many family owned businesses are over leveraging themselves on international expansion? Makes you wonder who's really watching the numbers. The backyard went quiet. Larry's face reddened slightly. What exactly are you implying? Nothing at all. I smiled. Just something we discussed at work. But you're right. I wouldn't understand stocks. I walked away, hearing Reagan whisper, What's gotten into her? In my car, I called Juliana. What did Jean find? Larry's company financials. They're hemorrhaging money, Val. And his partner, Ray, he's been moving funds offshore through shell companies. My hands gripped the steering wheel. Send everything to my secure email. And Juliana, not a word about my connection to Larry. Of course not. But Val, it's bad, really bad. I ended the call and sat in silence, remembering every dismissive comment, every patronizing pat on the head. Part of me wanted to rush back and warn him, the rest of me wanted to watch it all unfold. My phone lit up with a final text from Marcel. Tomorrow's meeting. It's about Warren Works. They're seeking emergency funding. Ready to handle it? I started the car, my reflection in the rearview mirror showing a smile that would have shocked my family. Ready, I typed back. Then I added, And Marcel, I want to lead this one. Driving away from another family barbecue, I didn't feel the usual shame or anger. Instead, I felt something new anticipation. Uncle Larry's empire was crumbling, and he didn't even know it yet. The sun was setting behind me, casting long shadows across the suburban streets. Tomorrow I'd walk into that meeting room not as little Val who didn't understand stocks, but as Valeria, the woman who understood exactly how far pride could fall. My phone buzzed one last time. Reagan. Sorry if Daddy was harsh. You know how he is. Stick to what you're good at, okay? I didn't reply. In less than 24 hours, they'd all learn exactly what I was good at. The maintenance man was still adjusting the letters on the glass wall when I arrived at the office. My name, Valeria Warren, partner, gleamed in fresh gold lettering. Marcel stood beside me, coffee in hand. Congratulations, he said, youngest partner in firm history. It feels surreal, I admitted, watching the final letter being aligned. You earned it. That analysis of the manufacturing sector crisis was brilliant. He paused. Speaking of which, Jean wants to see you. I found Jean in the conference room, surrounded by stacks of papers. Our lawyer looked like he hadn't slept in days. Close the door, he said without looking up. We have a situation. My stomach tightened. Warren Works? How did you? He shook his head. Never mind. Yes. They're facing a massive lawsuit. Their overseas partner is claiming fraud, and their domestic operations are underwater. I kept my face neutral. How bad? 750,000 in undisclosed losses last quarter alone. Their partner Ray has been siphoning money through dummy corporations. Classic embezzlement scheme. He looked up. Why aren't you taking notes? Because I already knew most of it, I said quietly. What I need to know is, when will they come looking for funding? Jean's eyebrows shot up. You're good. They called this morning. Want to meet next week. Juliana appeared in the doorway, waving a report. Val, you need to see this. Warren Works just lost their main supplier. They won't last 6 months. Jean glanced between us. You two know something I don't? No, I said quickly. Too quickly. His eyes narrowed. Wait, Warren, that's your last name too. Jean, I leaned forward. I need you to forget you noticed that. Understanding dawned on his face. They're your family. They're a potential client with a failing business, I corrected. Nothing more. He studied me for a long moment. You're going to take this meeting, aren't you? Wouldn't you? He gathered his papers. Just don't let it get personal. After he left, Juliana perched on my desk. It's already personal. It's business, I insisted, but my hands were shaking as I reached for my coffee. Val, she said softly, I've seen your proof spreadsheet. I know what this means to you. But are you sure you want to be the one who watches them crash and burn? I finished. No, I want to be the one who shows them exactly why they crashed. The rest of the week passed in a blur of preparation. I memorized every detail of Warren Works' finances, every mistake Larry had made, every dollar Ray had stolen. Marcel gave me full control of the meeting, with one warning: don't let revenge cloud your judgment. If there's a deal worth making, make it. The morning of the meeting, I arrived early. My new office still smelled of fresh paint, my name catching the morning light. I adjusted my designer suit, black, powerful, nothing like the sundresses Reagan always praised. Juliana knocked. They're here. Larry and Ray just signed in downstairs. They don't know it's me? No. Reception just said the partner will see you shortly. I took a deep breath. Give me 2 minutes, then send them in. Alone, I opened my laptop to the Warren Works file. A photo of Larry from their website stared back at me, confident, patronizing, completely unaware that his empire was crumbling. My phone buzzed. Reagan. Dad's meeting with some hotshot investor today. Fingers crossed they save the business. I closed the message without responding. Voices approached, Larry's familiar boom, Ray's nervous tenor. I stood, facing the window, waiting for the door to open. Gentlemen, I said without turning, please, have a seat. Thank you for meeting with us, Larry began. We're in a bit of a situation. I turned slowly. The words died in his throat. Val? His face went from confused to pale to angry in seconds. What is this? This, I gestured to my office, my name on the wall, is a meeting about your hemorrhaging portfolio, Uncle Larry. Shall we begin? Ray looked between us, bewildered. You know her? She's my niece, Larry said through gritted teeth, and we're leaving. Are you? I opened the file on my laptop. Before you've heard about the fraud charges coming your way, before we discuss the money Ray's been moving to offshore accounts? Ray's face went white. Larry's turned red. You don't know what you're talking about, he sputtered. Actually, I smiled, sliding the forensic accounting report across my desk. Understanding things is exactly what I do now. Would you like me to prove it? Larry sank into a chair, his world visibly crumbling around him. Ray couldn't stop staring at the floor. Now then, I said, opening another folder, let's discuss exactly how much trouble you're in. My phone buzzed one final time. Marcel, remember, business first, revenge second. I turned off my phone. This meeting would be about both. Let's start with your Asian expansion, I said, clicking through slides on the projector. Would you like to explain the discrepancies in your shipping manifests, or should I? Larry's face had moved beyond red to a concerning shade of purple. This is ridiculous. I don't have to sit here and. Actually, you do, I interrupted, keeping my voice level. Because right now, I'm the only person in the financial sector who might be willing to help you. Ray shifted nervously in his chair. Larry, maybe we should listen. To her? Larry laughed, but it sounded hollow. She's just trying to. To what, Uncle Larry? Understand stocks? I projected their quarterly losses onto the wall because I understand these numbers perfectly. $750,000 in hidden losses. Care to explain? The room fell silent except for the soft hum of the projector. Ray's leg was bouncing uncontrollably. We had some unexpected setbacks, Larry muttered. Like your business partner embezzling funds through shell companies? I turned to Ray, who looked ready to faint. Would you like to explain the transfers to accounts in the Cayman Islands, or should I call the SEC? You wouldn't. Larry stood up, hands flat on my desk. We're family. Family? I clicked to the next slide. Like when you told everyone at the barbecue that I should stick to yoga, or when you dismissed Mark's valid concerns about currency exchange. That was different. No, I cut him off. That was the same arrogance that led you to ignore every red flag in your business, the same arrogance that let Ray steal millions right under your nose. Ray jumped up. I never. Sit down, I snapped, sliding a document across the desk. Bank transfers don't lie, Ray. Would you like me to call your wife about the apartment you bought in Singapore? He collapsed back into his chair, defeated. Val, Larry's voice had lost its boom. We need help. 250,000 would tide us over until what? Until Ray steals that too? Until your suppliers realize you can't pay them? I stood up slowly. You're not getting a dime from this firm. Then why are we here? Larry demanded. Because I wanted you to understand exactly how badly you failed. I handed him a folder. This contains everything you did wrong, including proof of Ray's embezzlement. Consider it a learning opportunity. Ray started to speak, but I held up my hand. You have 24 hours before I send this to the authorities. I suggest you use that time wisely. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Larry's voice was bitter. Getting your revenge? No, Uncle Larry. I'm doing my job. I walked to the door. The job you said I'd never understand. Juliana appeared with perfect timing. Your next appointment is here, Ms. Warren. Thank you, Juliana. Please show Mr. Warren and Mr. Horton out. Ray practically ran from the room. Larry lingered at the door. Val, he said quietly, please, the business. It's all I have. For a moment, I saw him as he really was, an old man whose pride had cost him everything. Then I remembered every dismissive comment, every patronizing smile. You told me I wouldn't understand stocks, I said. Turns out I understood consequences. After they left, Marcel found me staring out my office window. That couldn't have been easy, he said. Actually, it was. I turned to face him. That's what scares me. My phone buzzed. A message from Reagan. Dad came home looking sick. What happened at his meeting? Before I could respond, another message appeared, this one from Jean. Ray just booked a flight to Singapore. Want me to alert the authorities? Not yet, I replied. Let's see if Uncle Larry makes the right choice for once. Marcel touched my shoulder. You did the right thing. They needed to face reality. Reality? I laughed softly. You know what the worst part is? I could have helped them. If he'd come to me 6 months ago, before Ray took everything, I could have saved the business. Would you have? I thought about it. No. Some lessons need to be learned the hard way. My office door opened and Juliana rushed in. Val, you need to see this. Warren Works just announced they're suspending operations. I picked up my phone and finally replied to Reagan. Ask your dad about dividend yields. He understands them now. The sun was setting over the city, casting long shadows across my office floor. Somewhere across town, Uncle Larry was watching his empire crumble. Part of me felt hollow, but another part The part that remembered every humiliation, felt something else. Peace. "He's here again," Juliana announced, poking her head into my office. "Third time this week." I glanced through the glass walls to see Uncle Larry in the reception area, looking considerably less polished than usual. His tie was loose, and his once pristine suit showed signs of wear. "Send him in," I sighed, straightening the papers on my desk. Larry shuffled in, the confidence of last month's barbecue completely evaporated. "Val, please, just hear me out." "The answer is still no," I said, not looking up from my computer. "The same no as yesterday. And the day before. Ray took everything," his voice cracked. "The overseas accounts, the emergency funds, even the pension plans for our senior employees." Now I did look up. "Did you report him?" "What's the point? He's gone. Disappeared to Singapore with all our money." Larry slumped into the chair across from me. "I just need a bridge loan. 200,000. I'll sign whatever you want." "You still don't get it, do you?" I turned my monitor around, showing him the latest analysis. "Your company isn't worth saving. Even without Ray's theft, you've been operating at a loss for years. But the new contracts, we're going to bankrupt you faster," I interrupted. "Your pricing was too low, your overhead too high, and your expansion plan was pure ego." He flinched at that last part. "I built that company from nothing, and now it's worth nothing." I softened my tone slightly. "The best thing you can do is file for bankruptcy before your personal assets are at risk." "Easy for you to say," he snapped, a flash of the old Larry emerging. "Sitting in your fancy office, enjoying your revenge." I stood up slowly. "Let me show you something." Leading him to the conference room, I pulled up the presentation I'd prepared for this moment. Slides of Warren Works' financial history filled the screen. "Here's where you started cutting corners on quality control," I pointed. "Here's where you ignored market trends. Here's where you should have modernized your equipment instead of buying that vacation home." Each point landed like a physical blow. Larry seemed to shrink with every slide. "And here," I concluded, "is where you trusted the wrong person because you were too proud to listen to anyone else's advice." "Enough," he whispered. "No, not enough. You wanted to know why I won't help? Because you haven't learned anything. You're still looking for someone to save you instead of facing your mistakes." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside the conference room, I could see Juliana pretending not to watch while Marcel gave me an approving nod. "What am I supposed to do?" Larry's voice was barely audible. "Start over," I said simply. "Sell what's left, pay your employees what you can, and begin again. Smaller this time. Smarter." He laughed bitterly. "At my age? Age didn't stop you from making mistakes. Why should it stop you from fixing them?" My phone buzzed. Reagan again. "Dad's not answering his phone. Mom's worried sick. Do you know anything?" Larry saw the message. "Don't tell them you saw me here, please." "I won't," I assured him. "But you need to tell them yourself. All of it." He stood up, straightening his tie in a ghost of his old gesture. "You really have learned about business, haven't you?" "No, Uncle Larry, I learned about consequences. The business part was easy once I stopped letting people tell me what I couldn't understand." He walked to the door, then paused. "That day at the barbecue. I'm sorry." "I know," I said, "but sorry doesn't fix balance sheets." After he left, Marcel joined me in the conference room. "That was kind of you giving him advice." "It wasn't kindness," I replied, closing the presentation. "It was closure." My phone lit up with a notification. Warren Works had officially filed for bankruptcy. Minutes later, another text from Reagan. "OMG, did you see the news? Dad's company. I can't believe it." I typed back, "Maybe he should have stuck to yoga and Pinterest boards." Juliana appeared with fresh coffee. "You okay?" "Better than okay," I said, watching Larry's figure disappear into the evening crowd below. "I think I finally understand what real power feels like." "And what's that?" "The power to walk away." I turned off my computer. "Want to grab dinner? I hear there's a new place where they understand stocks and good wine." As we left the office, I caught my reflection in the glass wall. My name still gleaming in gold letters, but somehow looking different now. The weight of revenge had lifted, replaced by something lighter, cleaner. My phone buzzed one last time. "Marcel, proud of you today. That's how a real partner handles things." I smiled, stepping into the elevator. Uncle Larry had taught me about business after all, just not in the way he'd intended. The door to my mother's house felt heavier than I remembered. I hadn't visited since everything happened with Uncle Larry, but Violet's text had been clear. We need to talk. She opened the door before I could knock. You look expensive, she said, eyeing my outfit. Hello to you too, Mom. The living room was exactly as I remembered, perfectly arranged, perfectly uncomfortable. Violet poured tea into delicate cups that never saw the inside of a dishwasher. Reagan tells me you're responsible for Larry's situation, she said carefully. Larry's responsible for Larry's situation. I stirred my tea. I just declined to fix it. He's selling his house, Violet set her cup down with a sharp clink. Patricia's devastated. Reagan's not speaking to him. And you want me to feel guilty about that? I want to understand. She leaned forward. All these years you never said a word. You just smiled and took it. What changed? I reached into my bag and pulled out a worn magazine, Entrepreneur, dated 15 years ago. The corners were degeared, the pages yellowed. Remember this? You found it under my bed when I was 16. Told me to focus on realistic goals instead. Violet's face softened. Val, I kept it, I continued. Every time someone told me what I couldn't do, I read it again. Even after you and Larry decided business wasn't for someone like me. We were trying to protect you. No, I stood up, pacing the familiar room. You were teaching me to be small, to accept less, to smile while men like Larry patted me on the head and called me honey. My phone buzzed. Reagan, how could you do this to us? Dad's a wreck, the country club's gossiping, and it's all your fault. I showed the message to Violet. See? Still my fault. Not Larry's for mismanaging everything, not Ray's for stealing, mine for not playing my assigned role. What did you expect? Violet's voice rose slightly. You humiliated him. He humiliated himself. I just refused to save him from the consequences. Silence filled the room. Outside, a lawnmower droned, the same peaceful suburban soundtrack that had accompanied years of family gatherings and casual dismissals. You've changed, Violet finally said. No, I became who I always was. You just never looked close enough to see it. I walked to the mantel, picking up an old photo. Me at graduation, smiling uncertainly while Larry dominated the frame, one heavy hand on my shoulder. Did you know I made partner? I asked quietly. Youngest in the firm's history. Not that anyone in the family noticed, they were too busy gossiping about Larry's bankruptcy. Violet stood up, taking the photo from me. I notice now. She paused. And I'm proud of you. I should have said that years ago. My phone lit up again. Marcel this time. Board meeting tomorrow. Bringing up your promotion to senior partner. Ready to make history again? I have to go, I said, gathering my things. Val. Violet caught my arm. Was it worth it? The revenge? I thought about Larry's face in my office, about Reagan's angry texts, about the family's whispers. Then I thought about my name on the wall, about Marcel's trust, about Juliana's fierce pride in my success. It wasn't revenge, Mom. It was revolution. As I reached my car, another text came through from Larry's number. My finger hovered over delete, but I opened it. You were right about everything. Starting over. Smaller. Smarter. Thank you for the wake up call. L. I drove to the old barbecue spot, the park where it all started. The grills stood silent now, but I could still hear the echo of laughter, still feel the sting of humiliation. My phone buzzed continuously. Reagan, this isn't over. Violet, be careful with your power. Marcel, tomorrow's going to be big. Juliana, drinks to celebrate? I turned off my phone and sat in the growing darkness, remembering the teenage girl who hid business magazines under her bed. She hadn't wanted revenge, she'd wanted respect. The kind you earn, not the kind you're given. The park lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the empty picnic tables. Somewhere across town, Larry was starting over, Reagan was rewriting family history, and Violet was finally seeing her daughter clearly. And me? I was sitting in the place where I'd been told to stay small, feeling anything but. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new battles, new chances to prove myself. But tonight, in this quiet park, I finally understood what victory really meant. It wasn't about it getting even, it was about getting free. I started my car, heading back to the city where my name shone in gold letters on a wall. The suburban darkness faded behind me, and with it the last echoes of, "Oh, honey, you wouldn't understand stocks." I understood everything now, especially the price of underestimating me. "Look what I found," Juliana said, dropping a newspaper on my desk. The business section featured a small article. Local consultant helps small businesses navigate crisis. There was Larry photographed in a modest office, looking older but somehow lighter. The article detailed his new venture, helping struggling family businesses avoid the mistakes he'd made. Ironic, isn't it? Juliana perched on my desk. Before I could respond, Marcel knocked on my door. "Ready for the announcement?" I smoothed my dress and followed him to the main floor where the entire firm had gathered. The morning sun streamed through the windows, catching the gold letters of my name, now in a new position on the wall. "Everyone," Marcel began, "please welcome your new managing partner, Valeria." Applause filled the room. Juliana wiped away tears while trying to maintain her mascara. As I stepped up to speak, my phone buzzed. Reagan's name flashed on the screen, but for once I didn't feel the urge to check it immediately. "Thank you," I addressed the crowd. "But before we celebrate, I want to announce our firm's new initiative. We're launching a division focused on helping family owned businesses survive economic transitions." Marcel raised an eyebrow. We hadn't discussed this. "Too many good companies fail because of pride, ignorance, or outdated thinking," I continued. "We're going to change that, not by bailing them out, but by teaching them to adapt." After the applause died down and the champagne was poured, Marcel pulled me aside. "This is about Larry, isn't it?" "It's about all the Larrys," I corrected, "and all the Vals they never took seriously." My phone buzzed again, a text from Larry himself. "Saw the announcement. Congratulations. Meeting with my first client today. Wish me luck." I showed Marcel the message. "Are you going to respond?" he asked. "Already did." I smiled, told him to remember what I taught him about dividend yields. The elevator dinged, and Jean rushed out with a stack of papers. "Val, you need to see this. Remember Ray? Interpol just caught him trying to open accounts in Malaysia." "Send the information to Larry," I said. "He should be the one to decide what happens next." Juliana appeared with fresh coffee. "Speaking of decisions, Reagan's been calling the office all morning. Says it's about healing the family." I took the coffee and walked to my window, the same one where I'd watched Larry leave that day, defeated but finally learning. "Tell her I'm busy," I said, "but she can schedule a proper meeting if she wants to discuss anything related to finance." "Savage!" Juliana grinned. "I love it." My phone lit up with another message, this time from Violet. "Saw your picture in the journal. Finally framed that old Entrepreneur magazine. It's on my mantle now." Something tight in my chest loosened slightly. Marcel touched my shoulder. "The board's waiting. Ready to show them your vision for the firm?" "Actually," I said, "I need 5 minutes first." In my office, I opened my old spreadsheet, the one titled Proof. Below the financial figures and investment returns, I added a new column, Legacy. Under it, I wrote, "It was never about the money. It was about proving that understanding comes in many forms. Even revenge can be a teacher." A commotion outside drew me to my door. Larry stood in the reception area, looking uncertain but determined. "Val," he said, seeing me, "I'm not here to ask for anything. I just—" He held up a folder. "My first client. I wanted you to review my advice before I give it. Make sure I'm not making the same mistakes." The office went quiet, everyone pretending not to watch. I took the folder. "Come back tomorrow at 9. We'll discuss it properly." "Thank you," he said quietly. Then, louder, "Congratulations on the promotion. You earned it." After he left, Juliana whispered, "Are you really going to help him?" "No," I smiled. "I'm going to let him help himself. That's what good business is about." Marcel appeared at my door. "Board's waiting." I gathered my papers, catching my reflection in the window. The woman staring back wasn't the girl from the barbecue or even the revenge seeking junior partner. She was something else entirely. Someone who understood that true power isn't in tearing others down, but in deciding when to help them stand up again. "Coming," I said, straightening my jacket. "I have some ideas to share about understanding stocks and people." My phone buzzed one final time. "Reagan. Fine. Book me for a proper meeting. Maybe it's time I learned what you've been trying to teach Dad." I handed the phone to Juliana. Schedule her for next week and bring extra coffee. We might be there a while. The morning sun caught the gold letters of my name as I walked to the boardroom, each step echoing with purpose. I hadn't invested to get rich, I'd invested to get even. And right now, my yield had never been higher. Not in money, in something far more valuable: the power to choose grace over grudges, wisdom over wounds, and understanding over revenge. That was the best return on investment of all.